Brady, man, thanks so much for coming back on the show here today. Really excited to have you on and reconnect. Could you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, Mike. Well, first, thanks for having me back. I had to almost scrub the archives of the last time we had a conversation that was recorded.
It's been a
But
minute.
yeah, I love doing this. It's always fun to catch up with the good people. So thank you again for having me on. I'm honored. And yeah, let's talk about, I guess, what's new for both of us. But for me, obviously, since the last time stepped away from life in the NBA. I haven't quite stepped away from basketball by any stretch of the imagination, but
Sure.
um, kind of just a new phase of my life. I just this summer turned 40 years old. You start realizing life's got different chapters and phases that are more important, and I get to be dad a lot more. I get to be present a lot more. I wouldn't say there's ever a work-life balance, but I have a lot more harmony in
Yeah.
how I approach life, and so it's kind of maybe scratching the surface of maybe more questions you'll have in that regard. But yeah, I'm in a good spot, man.
Yeah. I think we should just start there because I would love to hear about kind of number one, what made you leave the NBA? And then number two, kind of what you're doing now on the day to day because people are always interested, right? I think so many people's end goal is like league, right? Whether it's NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball. But then it's like, all right, but very few people are lifers there. So talk to me about your thought process, stepping out, and then kind of what you're up to these days.
Yeah, I would say it's a great question. I can go 100 different ways with it, but my first thought was to just think about the people who blazed the path before us. You know, my mentors and those that we all know who were fortunate to some extent to have a life in it. You know what I mean? I
Yep.
don't think that it's entirely healthy, but because I saw those mentors go through it 20, 30, 40 years, and they got plaques on the walls. They've got training rooms and weight rooms named after them now. Some of them are fortunate
Yeah.
if you're a sport coach, your name's on the court.
Yeah.
Um, we love this work. We love it. But sometimes it gets to a place where you're not going to step away from it unless to some extent you're forced out, which is very much so the modern era in pro sports. You know, everybody wants to reach the top. I tend to think that that's a shallow mentality nowadays because when I talk to young people, they really don't know why they want to reach that level other than just maybe experience it. It's a status. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. I can say I was the same thing. I just wanted to be in the most competitive environment. I wanted to serve the highest elite, most dominant athletes.
Yeah.
But the reason I stepped away to answer your question was, it's multifactorial. We were killing it with the Phoenix Suns, man. There's no denying that. We had an
Yeah.
incredible culture. You can go back and look at what our team did in the bubble, uh, the ripple effect that caused from going 8-0 in the bubble to then the final season the next year, which was a Cinderella story, just driven by a roster of just amazing human beings. And that cohesion, I don't think that you can intentionally create it. You can try your hardest, and I think everybody should try because that's it's a special thing. But just to look back and reminisce 5 years ago what that team was it's special, man. When you get to work
Yeah.
with a group like that, and I'll never forget it. But then, you know, management changed, new ownership came in, and those were things out of our control. And when those things happen, I mean, all bets are off. Anything could happen, and the empathy in me is, if I'm an owner and I spend $4 billion, I'm going to change some things too and shake the tree up a little bit. And
Yep.
it's his right, it's his team. But my contract was up around the same time, so the conversations were going, hey, do we renew? Do I stay? What does it look like? What does this all look like? And I just think both parties were ready for something new. And
Yeah.
I saw that coming, so I had a chance to mentally prepare for that, and which was great. You know what I mean? I hope anybody who experiences that doesn't quite downward spiral. But there's been a lot of changes in that organization since, where people were surprised by the decisions to move on from them, and they weren't quite as prepared as I was. So
Yeah.
that's the main thing. But at the same time, I look back now a year later and say it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. I got to experience my dream job I always wanted. I can look back now and reflect and say it wasn't nearly what I had hoped it was going to be. I would
Right.
never change anything, period. But for many people listening to this that want to be in the NBA, there is 99% more that goes into it that you're not thinking, that is probably 99% the underbelly of what you hope to experience. And so you got to know what you're signing up for. And I'm proud
Yeah.
to say that I can say I was built for it. I was born for it. I loved it. But then I just reached a place in my life and my career where, that was the best thing that could have happened to me, as being dad, as a husband, as just a friend. And so, yeah, that's a long-winded answer, but it was
Yeah.
a lot of stars that aligned at the right time for this to be the next move for me, both personally and professionally.
Yeah. Well, and you've had one heck of a pivot. So tell us about kind of where you were, which you did, but tell us about what you're up to now. Because, I mean, we're going to get into it, but dude, you've got like 20 irons in the fire, it feels like.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those things. I've definitely been trained, for good or bad, to be basically a circus show. You know what I mean? I feel
Yeah.
like I am capable of juggling 20 balls, but um, that was also a part of me stepping away from the Suns when I did. I didn't realize how close to the those fires, those coals of burnout that I was now looking back a year later. And so
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I can definitely navigate and manage a lot of things at once with a caseload. But I'm currently now the director of sports medicine at Grand Canyon University. So overseeing all of the athletic trainers, the sports medicine model, work very closely with team physicians, basically the same thing I was doing before with the Suns, the Hawks, the Jazz. It's a very similar role. But obviously, there's a little bit more of that harmony in my lifestyle now where I get
Yeah.
to not travel as much, but still very much so ingrained in basketball, both men and women's. And then I just get to experience so many other student athletes from golf. I mean, we have 500 student athletes that are amazing to just see a different
Wow.
side of different sports. And so it's been a lot of fun. But, some of those other coals are in the fire, like you said. I've always been doing a little bit of my own private practice. It's just now I'm spending a little bit more time developing and fine tuning that and getting ready
Yeah.
to market that a little bit more, because I do work with a handful of professional athletes specifically on the mental performance side of things. And that was something in those last 2 years when I was with the Suns. I went a complete pivot. I was still doing what I've always done, but I saw a missing piece. I saw a missing element that really wasn't being driven at the highest level, or maybe, and it wasn't the practitioners, it was more of an acceptance from the
Yeah.
athletes, from the teams, from the coaches of mental health, yes, but mental performance. We spend
Mm.
so much time driving the physical aspects, like training the physical. And I was just seeing, man, I had an amazing team of mental health practitioners who were so good, but they were just almost wasting their time trying at that level because there were constraints we I don't think can overcome in pro sports. When it comes to contracts and agents and all these things and proprietary information players want to keep to
Sure.
themselves.
Sure.
But I just saw a missing piece, which was the mental performance piece. And so I realized that the role that I was in, doing treatment on the table, coaching in the weight room, spending time with guys on surgical consults, you name it, I realized that so many of us serve the role as a psychologist in our own right mind, just building these
Yeah.
relationships. I wanted to learn how to do it better. So I decided to go back to school and I got a second master's degree. It's in sport and performance psychology. And now I'm fallen in love with that work, man. And now I'm going even further. I'm starting a PhD here at GCU just because it's a part of what I can take advantage of. And I realized that it's just so much more to how I can train, support not just athletes, but coaches and cultures at a higher level. And so I've fallen in love with that, man. It's kind of reignited, something in me that's just made me want to explore further.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go out of order here because I'm fascinated by this topic and obviously you're passionate about it. But what made you want to pursue that? Like, was there like this defining moment or was it just something you recognized over time? Because, look, I just had this discussion with a couple athletes today. Like, one guy in particular, we were talking about tennis, right? US Open's on right now. It's such a mentally driven sport. But, man, like, this is often the limiting or the deciding factor, right? Because everybody's talented at these levels, right? Like everybody is talented. So how are we defining, mental performance and what made you get so interested in that initially?
Yeah, maybe it's just the where I'm at in life. Maybe, it's just a little bit I've opened my eyes a little bit more, willing and able to kind of just see maybe what I'm missing in my own lifestyle. But I'm always just trying to find out what's the next thing, whether it's the competitive edge, whether it's, like just evidence based research where we're rehabbing guys, training guys. I don't know. And I just, in that role I was at as a leader within the Phoenix Suns, building teams, hiring staff members, like building policies and procedures, spending time with so many truly amazing people as practitioners
Yeah.
in their roles, like Danielle Lafada is a dietitian. Like I've learned so many things from so many people. And again, I knew it. I had a rock star team of mental health and performance practitioners that just were wondering, like, what am I doing here? I feel helpless. I'm like, and they tried so hard. So I can't really come down to one specific incident or time other than just during that period, we had some athletes like every year that could have really used those services and really had spent more time, you know what I mean, doing that. And it would have served them well. But I think that the fear of, well, you work for the team, I don't want to share anything because it's going to get back to the team. And that's also being bled over into the physical side. Athletes tend to hide and shy away from sharing injuries or pathologies in the past. And I get it. But that was never my mentality. And I struggled with that for quite a while in that role where I was trying to serve and build a team that served the athletes at the highest level. And I didn't play to that tune. And I don't think anybody within the Suns organization did at the time. But it was just the culture. You got agents, you got parents, you got people in their corner saying, don't say anything, don't share anything, this is the Players Association side of things. Like you can't look at players' Oura Ring data. You can't look at all this stuff unless they sign away their rights to.
Basically.
And so, and I respect that. I didn't want to infringe on that, but the mental health conversations, just anything on that was just so subjective. It was so new and almost uncomfortable to them that unless it was a real fire alarm, they really didn't want to open up much to that. But you work with them in the weight room, they can't stop talking. You get to know these guys, you're on the team. So I just wanted to find a way to serve on the inside out. And so I just decided, like many things, I'm like, if I want to get the job done, I got to do it myself. And then it just kind of started there, and it's blossomed ever since. And it's blossomed in the way we're obviously going through such a hard time of transitioning away from the NBA because it was a hard year. Even for me, I can truly respect when an athlete steps away now from an NBA, what that identity crisis feels like, because I worked my whole life to be in that role, in that league, and it was a dream. And then it's just like, well, now what? Like, what's my purpose? What's my everything? And so I think I was meant to go through that experience so that I could also just have that next level of understanding to serve athletes on that side of thing.
Yeah, no, I love it. And talk to me, because you went back to school, right? You got a second master's. Now you're working on a PhD. This is something I'm always intrigued by when guys, it's not like you're old, but, it's not like you're 20 and you're starting a PhD program. So what made you feel like going back to school was the right choice and the right decision for you personally?
Yeah, and school's not always right for everybody in today's modern era. But like for me,
Agreed.
Thankfully, I just had opportunities where I could do it, and it was taken care of, whether it is a part of my contract and things were getting paid. So there's that, right? I'm not putting myself into like millions of dollars in debt by going this route. Like it's right there, but even though it's there, there's a time commitment. There's a work ethic that just, comes with doing more school. And don't get me wrong, 20 years ago, I didn't think I would go to college ever. That was not my interest.
Really?
I was like most. And now I'm just a whole different human being. And I realize that this is exciting to me. Like I enjoy learning now. For me, it's a little bit of a competitive thing. Like if I have a time constraint, well, then I'm forced to get something done. I'm forced to get this assignment done. I'm forced to learn something. And it puts me in an uncomfortable situation that I think we should all experience more. That on the physical side, I think we should all be pushed to the uncomfortable level physically.
Yep.
But for me, school-wise, I started that master's realizing, man, what am I doing? And before I knew it, I felt like I blinked and a year and a half had gone by and I'm finishing the whole thing. And I was like, man, look at how much I gained in such a short window. And now I
Sure.
just realized that, yeah, this it's something I'm excited about. I'm invigorated by, and it just keeps giving back to me. And when it gets back to me and it fills my cup, well, it bleeds into everybody around me. It's helped me to
Yes.
be a better human being and a coach and practitioner. And so that's really where it all came from. I know it's a little crazy. Even my wife is like, man, when are you going to stop? But
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. Even if I finish this and I'm in my early 40s and it's like, great. Well, for me, I'm like, well, what is next? Am I going to go force myself to learn another language? Am I going to go? I don't know. But I know I got to keep challenging myself. And I don't want that to stop.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. So something you said up top really kind of caught my ear, and I want to circle back to that. You talked about the difference between mental health and mental performance. And I feel like that's a pretty key distinction, because I do feel like we're in a time and age now where it's more it's more commonplace to talk about mental health, and rightfully so, right? A lot of people have issues and they need to get those out there, but the mental performance side is not something nowadays I hear as many people talking about. So would you give me like how you would distinguish the two? I think that would be a great place to kind of dive in.
Yeah. No, that's a great piece. I think I really have to do a good job in this space, just like you do as a coach, right? Like I think the buy-in and the tangible quality that you get out of training somebody starts with educating them, right? They need to
Mm-hmm.
know the why behind something. Like
Yep.
you get a guy to squat a certain way. I need to know why. Why am I being asked to squat this way versus that way?
Yep.
Well, there's definitely three pillars when it comes to mental health, and the one that I'm entering in is not new, but it's kind of exciting in the realm of being accepted in that field. So if you think of a Venn diagram, and the NBA has done a good job of this, of at the top, that's your psychiatrist, right? They go to med school. They know they can prescribe medications. A lot of them work in the hospital setting because there's people who have mental health crisis, like pathologies, whether that's just a history of trauma. There could be so many different things there. And some of it is truly chemical imbalance. Some of it might come down to genetics, lifestyle, and they've hit a place in their life where this is true crisis. This needs damage control, whether it's
Yes.
medication, whether it means hospitalization. So that's the top. Now, the next level is what everybody kind of knows of, which is kind of more the therapeutic side, like the psychologists, right? So those are also
Yep.
doctorates. These are people who spend a lot of extra time, even after finishing school, doing the clinical rotations and working directly one-on-one with people, more from doing therapy. And there's so many different specialties within those therapies. Again, like sports psychology, there's working with children, there's working with marriage counseling, there's working with military. There's a lot of different degrees and areas that can be served. And that's obviously where I would say the cutoff is when it's more those upper levels are mental health. Like those are the people I would even refer to of saying, hey, if I'm noticing something with a human being I'm working with and it's far outside of my expert area, I just want to know how to point them in the right direction. You know what I mean? So, because there are some people, I have met countless people who really do need not just counseling and therapy, but they also need to go above and beyond to see if there's a chemical imbalance within their lifestyle for whatever reason
Yep.
that may be. It might be genetics. I can't say. There's a lot of different reasons, but there's necessary testing. There's necessary psychoanalysis and assessments that need to be done to figure out what is the best plan and approach for this person, like an individually tailored approach. And anything past that, right? Let's say that's the cutoff point. That third tier is mental performance. So this is no different in my mind than what you do as a coach. We have a very highly accepted area in our field of we're just sedentary individuals as well, of training physically is fine, whether it's CrossFit, whether it's, you name it. It's really accepted to be physically active, to train your body. We know how important it is, from every little level that reaches the cell of mitochondria to oxygen consumption. everything that we know, it's so exciting to see where we're at in that realm.
Yeah.
But none of that is possible. And this is where I like the idea of like the chicken or the egg, which one's, you want to say is first, more mental performance or physical performance. And obviously one feeds the other in unison. But what's easier for people to accept is that training the physical systems, the physical body, makes sense because they can see eventually these physical changes, right? They feel
Right.
better, they look better, they perform better. But at the same time, that is always going on from the moment you're born to the moment you die. Your brain is always working. It's building neural connections. It's taking
Yes.
in thousands and thousands and thousands of data points at the same time. Like right now, me moving my hands, it's like you don't even realize how many millions of things are going on that your body is processing and doing while we just have these interactions. So
For sure.
that mental performance piece for me, it's just that. Instead of thinking of the physical, it's mental. And it's uncomfortable for some people because instead of it being physical, like I can see these changes, the mental side is very subjective. So even for coaches, for anybody, it's like the uncomfortableness is I don't know where to start. So it's kind of like the first person going, your first time you ever go to the weight room or the gym, you just look at everything going, I'm out of place here. I don't know where to start. I don't belong here. This is wrong. Something. And that's kind of how people need to get softened to the mental performance piece. And when people start realizing how this can best serve them, it changes their life. It's changed mine. It's changing those that I work directly with. And I mean, we're talking about 20, 30, sometimes even early 40, year old elite athletes who you would look at and see what they do on a court and be like, man, that's the most confident human being I've ever seen.
Yes.
But then when I take back a couple of layers of that onion and I learn that person, I'm like, man, it is absolutely phenomenal and impressive what these guys can do when they're still going through the same challenges we all go through as human beings. Is just changes in their confidence level, changes in their mood, changes in their thought process. Their self-talk is usually horrid. It's just debilitative. Yeah. So that's a long answer of the difference between like mental health and mental performance. And there's a lot of different shades that weave in and out of both. But you definitely want to surround yourself with people who know, their areas of expertise and don't try to do more than they're qualified or trained to offer you. So I just call it coaching. I coach people. And I'll tell you what, whether you're a Fortune 500 CEO, whether you're just an everyday stay-at-home mother or father, I'm like, everybody needs people in their lives who can push them, who can coach them, who can mentor them. I know I have, and that's why I love these conversations. I love my network because we all need that. And so now I try to do that at a higher level with, high performers. They're not always athletes, but I just try to take what I'm learning and I try to gift it back to people in a way that I know will serve them.
Yeah. That's the exact terminology I've taken on here lately because for many, many years, I struggled to describe like the people I work with, right? Because, my Gen Pop people are like, oh, you train athletes. And my athletes are like, yeah, but you train like Gen Pop people. I'm like, man, I train high performers. Like if you want to get the most out of your physical body or you want to use the weight room as a vehicle to enhance your body to do other things in life, then I got you. Go ahead.
I was going to just add to that. I mean, the question you gave, the big distinguishing piece is obviously people will know, is there something truly wrong? You know what I mean? Like mood disorders, depression. Like I will say this though, whether it's mental health or mental performance, like nobody is here alone. Like this journey is hours and hours alone. You're born alone. You're going to die alone. That's a sad way to say that, but you're born with your brain, with your temperament, with your personality. And you're on this journey alone. Like you're going to interact and cross paths with so many people that might become your people, like your family, your friends, your spouse. But I really just try to get people to invest in themselves and to buy into some of these things, because if you're not working on yourself, I'm like, you're just slowly just wasting away. I hate to say it, but so that's why the question on the education piece, like everything I'm pushing myself, things I keep doing, like I just want to get better. And not just that, I want to get better so that I can make people around me better, and I want to give back to others. But the distinguishing piece between those, it's like instead of it being more depression, anxiety, a lot of those things that are, they shouldn't even be looked at as bad or, terrible phrases. Like, they're not fun, but mental performance, I'm training people how to build their own mental framework. It allows them to have focus, like sharpen their focus. It enhances confidence. It enhances resilience. It enhances their ability to take things that happen in their life and understand what's in my control, what's not. It allows them to get far more organized and leads to that confidence. Because you know what it's like to walk into a testing center, for example, and if you put in the work and study it, and you're like, I'm going to nail this thing, versus walking in and you would not put in the work and you're just absolutely like just rattled because you're like, I have no idea how this is going to go. So when
Yes.
people start training these things, it changes their life, man. So that's the, hopefully that I've given a little bit of a clarification of the two,
Yeah.
but I certainly spend all of my time on more of the mental performance piece, trying to help people feel like they're ready and able to attack life.
Yeah. I mean, kind of the hierarchy you gave me, like if I could reverse engineer it, it'd be like the weight room S&C guy, then the physical therapist, then the surgeon, right? So
Yeah.
kind of you talked, top down, psychiatrist, psychologist, mental performance, surgeon, PT, S&C. But okay, I love that analogy. I think that's really helpful, and it gives you kind of like a frame of reference of where everybody fits in, because it's not like one is right, one is wrong. It's like, hey, they all work together, right? And there's kind of a
Yes.
continuum there based on where that person shows up. But now one thing I'm really interested in, because, that first day you go in a weight room, right? You're like a deer in headlights. You have no clue what you're doing. There's all these huge jacked people walking around. Maybe it was just me, walking around the Ball State weight room. But for mental performance, what's a starting point? Like, where does somebody even begin? They've listened to this. They're like, yo, Brady, like, I love this. I want to start doing something with this. Where does somebody even start with that? Because I think it's a really new concept, or something I don't hear as many people talking about.
Yeah, let's start with something as simple. If I was to do the same thing and throw that back to you as a strength coach and say, hey, man, I'm about to coach somebody who's never stepped foot in the weight room, but also now, like, we got to figure out what their goal orientations.
Yeah,
So
sure.
what are you trying to get out of this? You know what I mean? Are you training to be a you want to be in the PGA and you're a high school golfer, or, you know what I mean? So it's depends. I always try to do a really good assessment that tries to captivate them, because I have to be just like you do as a coach. I have to be sharp enough, organized enough, and my approach to an intake or assessment or connecting with this person has to get them just enough interested to realize, man, there's something to this. And it's,
Yep.
they're not going to give me 10 hours or 10 sessions to say, all right, man, like, just break me down. And that's the thing. I have to deconstruct what the root thing we need to address the most. It's finding those small wins. And so, one, I just start with an assessment, and I try to, which I think I can do a good job of, to speak their language as an athlete, or just, so some of it I make easy. Like, before they start working with me, like, they'll fill out an assessment, and a lot of it is, what are you trying to get out of this? What are your goal orientations means? Like, what does success look like for you? What are your goals? So some of it starts with a little bit of goals, but the whole time I'm trying to figure them out a little bit about why they're coming to me now, what has sparked this, like, because again, I am trying to figure out, is this really mental performance and I can help them, or how and where should I start by helping them? Or do I need to refer them to somebody because, like, man, they don't know enough even about the dynamics of these roles, and they're thinking I'm a psychologist, or I can, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
But the work, if let's say we've done an assessment and now we're starting to get into a little bit more of a couple sessions later, I kind of have, I roll the dice, man. I don't have like a strict thing. I'm reading the room. I'm reading that person. I have a very human or person-centric approach to try to figure out, how can I serve this person? So that alters all the time. But of course, I can navigate these things in a way where I'm trying to learn them. But I will say that self-awareness is probably the number one mental skill and tool that I'm trying to teach them. So understanding themselves, if that makes sense. So that's really where I start with these guys, and some of that can go a number of different ways, but I'm trying to figure out what makes them tick. And that's not very easy to do in even 2 or 3 hour sessions. But when you start to peel away bit by bit, you start to learn how to navigate communication with them so that they can learn a little bit about themselves. Some of them don't know. They just feel like something's wrong. I can't focus. I beat myself up
Right.
on the course, and you just take it in strides. And so it's not a direct concrete answer I can give you, but
Yeah.
it's got an art form to it, just like how it is as a coach. You've done this long enough to look at somebody and do a pretty quick assessment within an hour of saying, all right, this person's a better squatter than he is a hinger, or like a
Yep.
puller. So you start to figure these things out, and along the ways, you're saying that even though they're a better squatter, they still have these limitations. I'm still seeing these areas I can improve, I can change, I can adapt. And it's the same thing in mental performance. I'm trying to integrate mental skills. Now, these are skills that will serve them in so many ways. Again, confidence is a skill, resilience is a skill, focus is a skill. There's a lot of different skills. And then within building those skills that can serve them, there are countless tools, whether that's breath work, whether that's mindfulness, whether that's meditation, whether that's journaling. And I just try to fine tune what's going to best serve them right now. And then we
Yeah.
build and we just keep building, because that's how we can't get anywhere. Like you said, a great analogy. When you walk into that weight room, and the scary thing is when you haven't been there ever, or even if you've taken 5 years off, and you walk in, you're just seeing these jack dudes just doing now these crazy things that we're doing in the weight room. And that's scary. You're just like, dude, like you think to yourself, I want to be that guy. How can I be that guy? But they want it now. They want it yesterday. And that's
Yeah.
not how it works. You have to start somewhere and build, and it has to be done consistently.
Yeah. I love it, man. All right. I want to pivot a little bit because as fascinating as this topic is, there's some other things you have going on that I think are very intriguing as well. So, talk to me about the shift in responsibility going from basically overseeing 15 high level athletes to 500. What kind of shift is that like for you?
Yeah, man, great question. So it can be a lot, but obviously I'm not alone in this venture. I have
Sure.
an entire staff. We have total, me myself included, 11 athletic trainers. GCU also has a great accredited athletic training program. So we have student athletic trainers. We have a lot of hands on deck taking care of
Yeah.
those 500 student athletes, as well as team physicians. We have physical therapists that we consult and come on site. We have chiros. We do massage therapy. So we're bringing very much so throw the kitchen sink at it approach,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
like you see anywhere, but much vastly different to go focusing from 15 to 18, professional athletes to now a staff that big and that many athletes. And so it's a lot. It's a lot. So it kind of comes down to having a structured model and process that keeps me organized, keeps them organized. And when we just run into chaos, we feel like we have the confidence to navigate it appropriately. But we see a lot in any given day, which you will in any setting. But it's definitely a lot more to manage. But that comes down to
Yeah.
just how we build a framework that can process all of it.
Well, and that's kind of where I was going with this is like, if you think about it, you would think most places, when you get to the highest level of sport, like the systems and the ops should be pretty bulletproof, right? Should be pretty airtight. So now to then take those things that you've built, working in the NBA and then transfer it down. Yeah, different sports, different injuries, younger athletes, less developed athletes. But man, if you've got the systems and frameworks in place and you got people that can uphold them down below you, that's pretty darn cool because now you're going to get to see how those things really work at scale.
Yeah. No, I mean, anywhere you're going to be, I do tend to think it starts with people first, then process, and then practice. You know what I mean? You have to
Yep.
have those things in order. You can't flip those. There's not too many places or job settings where you can flip that. You know what I mean? And so I think that it starts with just having the right people who are willing to then build out the right process, and they're willing to consistently practice it. And when you do that, again, even at our level, you develop a sense of confidence and resilience to be able to handle whatever happens, because we'll have athletes walk in who just fell off a scooter and broke both wrists, and they're about to go into the conference championship, and they're a pitcher. I don't know. It's like we
Right.
we see it all, and it's like you just
Right.
have to be willing and ready to take this head on, and know your process, know what we do as a staff to support one another, and next best thing. The hard thing in this setting as a practitioner is it's hard not to want to serve the team's success. And when something like that happens and it's an incident like a car crash, let's say it wasn't even the athlete's fault, but they were hit, now their back's locked up, and
Right.
it's 2 days before March Madness, and you know what I mean? It's like these are just hypothetical scenarios, but there are things that happen, and all of a sudden you've got to go not only handle it, figure out what's the approach and the best plan moving forward. Because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want the best and the safety and well-being of the athlete, and we want to serve the team. But sometimes you're going to be handed a little bit of some adversity in life, and you just got to be willing to not beat yourself up about it. I've truly had athletic trainers younger in their career when like an ACL tear happens, they beat themselves up thinking like that they should have done something from a preventative standpoint that would have avoided this person, and it's impossible. Like our job is to be actually reactive, right? Like we want to
Yeah.
be proactive, but you have to be really good at being reactive. And that's where some of these skills, I mean, they serve everybody. It's not just athletes. It serves surgeons. You've got to be able to be quick on your feet to adjust and adapt.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the hardest things too is it's almost impossible because we're humans, right? We're not robots, but taking the emotion out of it, because at the end of the day, the second you get emotional, things get very hard for you to make rational decisions, right? And so,
Yeah.
yes, it would suck. I mean, I've had some of my favorite human beings and favorite athletes other that have had major injuries, right? And so, trying to be as unemotional, you don't want to be detached, obviously, and you want to be empathetic, but taking your own emotion out of it so you can fully support them and invest in them and get them back, I think is so critical. Because again, I've seen it numerous times where people get too emotional and then they start making emotional decisions, and that ultimately negatively impacts the athlete down the line.
Yeah, how many times in our lives have we kind of looked back and said, "Man, I wish I would have handled that differently. I shouldn't have said
Right.
that. I shouldn't have blown up. I shouldn't have cut that guy off to flip him off because he cut me off," like a tit for tat
Right.
thing. It's like, and so yeah, that's what this can do is it allows us to have a little bit stronger understanding and through deliberate practice be able to make those better decisions, because that's really what it all comes down to. We want to make the best decision right now, and if we do that enough times, eventually mentally or physically you are that guy in the weight room that's jacked because you put in so much work. You're
Yeah.
seeing these results build and build. So that's the fun part about it. But we're in an era now where everybody wants your job, my job, a status to be at the top, but without actually taking the path to get there, because we've kind of
Right.
trained ourselves to realize that we can do things much quicker. We can biohack things. We can microwave success, and that's just not how things go. I mean,
No.
these things stand the test of time. You have to be able to put in the work.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. Okay, so one more topic. I don't know if you actually mentioned it, but I've seen you post about it on IG. Talk to me about the 3-on-3 world. Like, how did you get into that? Just like, what are the differences there? Obviously, they're playing half court, but like, how did you get into that space? And like, what are some of the differences you found between, say, the 3-on-3 and the regular like 5-on-5 basketball space?
I've fallen in love with this, man. Like I've been trying easily. I can track back emails now over 10 years that I've been trying to crack into serving USA basketball. I kind of come
Yeah.
from a family of generations who have served in the military, and I grew up not far from one of the largest Air Force bases in Utah. And so, but I grew up watching also the Dream Team. I was a diehard Stockton and Malone fan. So I tried to just find my way into USA basketball. I don't know why or where that spark happened, but I definitely was knocking on their door for 10 years. And right around the same time that I was stepping away from the NBA, the 3x3 was blowing up. The Olympics, where they were in the Olympics for the first time.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of hit the ground running. I mean, now I've gone almost nearly 10 countries in a matter of a year with this team, and
That's crazy.
serving the national group. The women's team is not quite as out there as the men, because the season for 3x3 is during the summertime when the WNBA season is going on. So it's really hard for them to get as much of a draw. But it's been so much fun. You're absolutely right. This is basketball, but it's a whole different game. I mean, if people think the NBA to the college game is different, I mean, 3x3 to any basketball is just totally different. And it's not even close to like an Ice Cube's Big Three or anything like that. Like this is
Right.
FIBA style. It's very I can't remember how they call it. It's street ball, but the way they call it is obviously a little bit more professional. It's they let these guys play. They let them be physical, but the 3x3. So you have 4 guys on the team. 3 are on the court. 1's out as the sub. So every dead ball, if you want, you can sub in, and it's a 10-minute. I don't want to say running clock because there's stoppages, like for things, free throws and whatnot, but it's nonstop for 10 minutes. And the average game runs about 20 minutes of like real time.
Yeah.
But there's a level of fitness and endurance in this that's just wild. It's a 12-second shot clock. So as soon as the ball, like most 3x3 or 3-on-3 you played growing up, you got to clear the ball to the 3-point line. But as soon as the ball clears the net, the team is like, you get it out the net and you go. So you have to be able to have the intelligence and the ability to go from being on offense and a lot of screen, rescreen, slips, have that offensive side, and then within a millisecond, you're back on defense. And so it is a lot thrown at you at once. It's a really fast-paced, rugged style of basketball. But I don't know, man. I'm telling you, truthfully, like there's more talent in the NBA than we all know, but I don't know how many NBA players would be willing to really invest and play in 3x3. The style that comes with it it's wild, and I love it. It's been so much fun to just watch. And internationally, NBA is not even interesting to people, but like you turn on the TV in Asia or Europe, 3x3, like the World Tour is like their NBA. Like they love it out there, and so it's crazy. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really interesting because a lot of the guys that I work with, they like to get up and down, but a lot of my guys like to play 2s. They like to play 3s. In fact, they were just playing yesterday, and I think they were playing on like a 4-minute running clock. And dude, I'm telling you, after 4 minutes, they are full lather, full sweat. So I couldn't imagine going for 10 minutes almost straight like that. Like the conditioning has to be off the charts.
Yeah, and like let's go back to a little bit just because I'm so in my headspace now, the mental performance piece. I mean, we've seen this. Coaches not only want talent, but they want intelligent players, right? You want players who can finish the game and not have mental fatigue, turn the ball over, make terrible decisions. And we all know what it's like to play pickup and just be gassed. And you're just like, dude, I'm not all there. Like but on the 3x3 side, in the final couple of minutes, like, I mean, it's either when the clock ends, who's winning is obviously the winner, or the game may be done in 5 minutes, which isn't very common, but if a team is just completely beating another team and they get to 21 first, so it's really the first 21 or whoever's leading after that time. But, man, the end of the game, these guys are absolutely huffing and puffing. They're gassed. Yeah. So you have to have a fitness level to you, not just physically, but mentally to be able to be sharp and have that acuity to be able to just keep going and play until the end because it's a lot of fun. It's a physical game. And it gets pretty interesting, man. I really enjoy it. But I do think there's something to be said about I think NBA teams should really look to integrate the 3x3 stuff for small-sided games. Like if you don't have guys who are in the rotation that need to play and get their fitness level maintaining, I think that they should take that 3x3 and just play it to their rules, to their tee, to the shot clock, everything. It's competitive. You can – if you show them how it should be played, there's a lot of actions that will serve them in the half court. But I remember trying to figure out with player development coaches, how are we going to get these guys some run in and we don't have enough bodies and what are we going to do? But I think that would serve so many different teams if they integrated that, like for the guys who quite aren't cracking the rotation, but they need to stay ready.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And the other thing is too, I mean, we both worked with enough guys. How many guys would much rather just get out and play in some way, shape, or form versus do mindless conditioning with the S&C guy? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like they'd rather play 7 days a week and twice on Sunday versus having to do the fan bike or circuits or, whatever kind of conditioning drill you have them do on the court. If they can play, that's generally going to be better accepted for sure.
Yeah, 100%. No, I think that it would serve so many different teams, even if some of the players who just can't get enough bodies in the offseason to play. I just think, there's nothing wrong with kind of drilling things if it's got some good intelligence behind it and there's enough of a pushing of that athlete. But nothing will ever supersede or be better than just playing from a conditioning standpoint, a technical, tactical. So I think that
Yep.
it meets so many different needs, and it's a sweet spot. But if you should watch it, it's pretty demanding, and most people would watch it and be like, "Oh, I've played 3-on-3," but again,
Not at that level.
not to knock the big three or anything like that, but the fast pace like FIBA rules, like the Olympic style or World Tour 3x3, it's on another level.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I've watched it a little bit, but I'm definitely gonna have to lock in now. Okay, one more kind of big question, then we'll start to wrap up. But it feels like a little bit. You left the NBA, right? You left one job, and you somehow picked up three, right? You got GCU, you got 3x3, you got the PhD, bro. How do you find time to do all these things? Like, how do you manage your time? Because you got a lot on your plate, brother. Like, you've got a lot going on. How do you kind of put all those pieces together and make it work?
Yeah, I think maybe some of it's just how I am naturally as a person. I just would rather have more on my plate than be bored. And
Yeah,
then
sure.
I just that's how I've always been. I think that that's how I got to the NBA. I think that that's how I've gotten anywhere I've ever gotten to is just having a little bit of that work ethic of just being an Energizer bunny of just go go go. That's served me well. Now, at times, that's also burnt me out. You know what I mean? So you have to
Yeah,
have a little bit of that reserve of knowing my own self awareness. But um, again, it comes down to just being organized. I think that that's not as hard as you think if you have the ability, like if your environment, your job, and the people around you support and allow it to happen. So again, if in the NBA, that's tough because you're just nonstop, the travel, the
yeah,
demands.
yeah.
But people try to do a little bit of a side hustle and create, a little bit of like self care. But I think it's been a delicate balance, like between GCU, like there's a heavy season and there's a lot lighter season. And when that lighter season has happened with the college setting, well, 3x3 is full blown in season and
Yep.
it gives me more opportunities to do that. And so
Yeah.
all the other stuff, I just kind of fill between the spaces, man. I just try to
Yeah.
do my best and make it all work.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I don't have a proper lightning round for you, but I've been talking to a lot of people about coffee lately. You strike me as a coffee guy because if there's anything I see on your IG, it's coffee from all these different spots. So I got two questions. Let's start with number one. You get one cup of coffee in Phoenix. Where are you going? What's the spot?
Oh, hands down, easy. It's a coffee shop called Peixoto. It's I think it's Peixoto. It's the
Okay.
last name of a family, and it's one of the coolest stories I've ever. And I have no problems plugging this lady because she's a dear friend now. But
Yeah.
she is a fourth generation agricultural farmer from Brazil, and she was the last child. She's a female, so she was kind of feeling like the name was dying with her eventually. She
Right.
came to the States to go to law school, I believe. She ended up in Tucson, and now she found a clever way to keep her family name going. And so
That's
every
cool.
element of it comes from her farm. Her father's running the farm. Her husband is like an engineer, builds all the equipment. It's one of the coolest
That's
stories, but
awesome.
hands down
Yeah.
in Arizona, you have to go to Peixoto.
All right. All right. Well, if I'm in Phoenix, I'm going. Second, now we're taking this global. Best cup of coffee other than Peixoto, where would you go?
Mm-hmm. Man, that one's so hard because I am absolutely a coffee snob, and that you're right. The reason I post all those things are selfishly for me, but then it started with like to create a little buzz in the NBA. I started getting texts all
Yeah.
the time from people like, "Hey, man, what's the spot in Indy
Yes.
or Denver or?"
Yes.
And I would know in my mind, but I couldn't remember the name of the coffee shops. I just decided for a few years I'm going to take a picture, I'm going to tag it, and
Yeah.
I have it in my kind of my stories. So when people look at that, that's your little Rolodex, if you will. If you're looking, it
Yeah.
got so out of control just recently. I had to split it up. So there's three story tabs: East Coast, West Coast, and International. Like I'm getting
Really?
to a point. Yeah. So
That's awesome. That's
I ran
awesome.
out of room. So
Yeah,
um,
that's funny.
I'll just say this because I just went and spent a few weeks with USA Basketball in Miami. But Miami, Jimmy Butler's Big Face Coffee was pretty
Okay.
sharp in
Yeah.
Miami. But yeah, I can't answer that, man. Every state's got its little hubs.
Yeah, it's true.
But as long as it's just, I love going for the not the drip coffees, the pour overs. I like looking for clever things. Siphon coffee, whatever is going
Okay.
to be natural, clean, like single origin, and most of the time that's like Brazil or Colombia or Ethiopia. But
Yeah.
it's not. I can't give you another direct answer, but I
No.
got plenty of things you can go and look on my IG and find something in whatever market you're in.
Yeah, I'll make sure I tag that because it's worth the follow. Yeah. My last question was going to be what is the coffee of choice, but the single origin pour over sounds like is the go to. Yeah.
Yeah, unless there's something clever. It used to be a staple. Like every place I would go, I don't know if I suggest people get two coffees because now I just like just straight, just black coffee. And again,
Yeah.
20
Sure.
years ago, Brady didn't even like coffee, so I'm sitting here going, "Who are you?"
Right.
But
Right.
I for many years I would have my measuring stick be like a vanilla latte and just see who was the
Yes.
best. Which that
That's
is
what I
hands
do.
down
Yeah.
the best drink to get at Peixoto because they make their own flavoring from the vanilla
Oh.
bean extract. Like they're like I
Gosh.
said, I'm spoiled, man. I'll go into a coffee shop and I might eventually just have my own coffee business of just picking apart coffee
I love
shops
it.
and how good they are. So
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's why I'm an Americano guy, right? Water, coffee, like that's it. What's the best spot? Like that's what I'm always
yep.
looking for. So that's kind of my litmus test wherever I go.
The
But
AeroPress thing's cool too. If you're traveling like I do sometimes, or you just want
yeah,
that little plastic thing and you can just like travel easy and do something
yeah,
like it's yeah. I've got my hacks, my systems in place there when I travel.
dude, I'm ready for just the straight coffee IG. That can be your next side hustle. You finish the PhD and then it's just like straight coffee side hustle.
I might need to. I mean, yeah. I mean,
I mean,
I'm just happy if I got people throwing free coffee at me. You know what I mean? Let's
yeah,
make it
hey,
happen.
nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
Well, Brady, man, it's been amazing catching up with you today. As always, thank you so much for your time. Where can my listeners find out more about you and your extreme coffee game?
Yes, on both like socials, mainly just IG, Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it. Is
Yeah.
it's the handles are Coach Brady Howe. His last name's Howe. I got a couple of exciting things coming out here. I've spent a lot of time really in the last year building a website that's coming out that will also be coachbradyhowe.com. So I'm going to be
Okay.
rolling out a lot of things that I offer from mental performance training and beyond. So I'm really trying to kick the hinges off the door with that when it comes to making people feel comfortable about learning that space or embracing that
Yeah.
space. And then there'll be more once that website rolls out. I'm going to have a lot more fun things coming out that people can explore. So I would start there.
Yeah. I love it. Well, Brady, again, man, thank you so much for your time, brother. It was great catching up as always.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you again. It's always fun to see you.